Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to read another Carpside collection story. Hope it's interesting and excited because so far as I, pass through it, it seems to me like it. So let's get started. I'm not sure anyone believes a story like this unless they've lived in months where the lights flicker and you start doing math in your head while you brush your teeth. But here it is. I opened a dumpster behind a gated neighborhood and pulled out 5 briefcases that didn't belong in trash. Then I spent the rest of the night praying nobody had seen me. I'm 40. I've got a 5-year-old who still thinks mom can fix it, a 16-year-old brother who tries to act though but jumps at every overdue notice, and a grandfather whose meds don't care how hard you work. My husband left peacefully, which is just another way of saying he walked out without breaking a plate, and the bills still landed on my counter like they'd always had my name on them. I work a register. You stand under fluorescent lights, smile through complaints, and go home with your feet swollen and your wallet empty. I can cover rent and food barely. Anything extra is a small crisis with a big echo. A woman I know cleans houses for rich people. One afternoon, she said, like it was nothing. They throw out things that still have the tags on. Sometimes it's ridiculous. She didn't say go look, she didn't have to. That idea followed me home and sat next to the pharmacy receipt on my table. So one night, when my place was finally quiet, I took the bus on the nicest part of town. Big hedges, smooth sidewalks, security lights that blink like they're bored. I told myself I was just looking for a usable stuff, maybe a chair, maybe unopened household supplies. I wore gloves, I kept my head down, I tried 3 dumpsters and found what you'd expect: food rot, wet cardboard, broken junk. I almost quit. Then I saw the last one, tucked behind tall shrubs, lid heavy, bags stacked like somebody dumped them in a hurry. Okay, now that we're getting, to the details, I would definitely, dump everything on my first try that I didn't find anything. So the fact that she stayed and saw that last box is very, like she's went for it. I started moving bags aside, careful not to tear anything, and my glove hit metal, hard, cold, not a can. I pulled in something slid free from the bottom corner, a metal briefcase. Scuffed but solid, with 2 latches. I stood there holding it like it might start beeping. And then I saw there was another one. Same shape, same metal, pushed deeper under the bags like somebody tried to hide them in plain sight. I should have closed the lid and walked away. Instead, I checked the alley, no voices, no porch lights. Then I lifted the first case and nearly swore out loud because it had real weight. No empty suitcase weight, something valuable inside weight. I didn't open them there. I grabbed what I could carry, 2 cases at first, walked fast to the bus stop and tried to sit like a normal person waiting for a ride while my heart tried to climb out of my throat. When I got home, I didn't even turn on the big light. I set the cases on my kitchen table and just stared at them like they were a mistake I hadn't made yet. I popped the first latch and opened case 1. That's interesting what she's gonna find there. Inside was a watch box, not a cheap one, foam cut perfectly, velvet lining, a card with the serial number printed cleanly. The watch itself looked like the kind men wear in airports, not the kind you accidentally toss. Heavy band, clean glass, no scratches. Under it, a small pouch with spare links and a tiny tool like it had been cared for. My hand started shaking. I closed it and opened case number 2, telling myself maybe the first was a fluke. Case number 2 held jewelry in small zip pouches, 2 rings that hooked like real stones, a thin gold chain, and a pair of earrings wrapped in tissue. Not costume, not tangled junk, organized, protected. Okay, wow, that seemed to be a very valuable things, and I really hope she can get something out of it. I mean, the real money. And sorry for people who lost it or whoever and whatever happened to it, but when you find something like it, I think you just feel like, I don't know, lucky. Then that's when I went back out. I know how that sounds, but I kept seeing my grandfather's spilled bottle and my daughter's school note on the fridge. I took the bus back like like a thief returning to the scene of a crime. Even though I hadn't stolen from a person, only from a dumpster, the bags were still there, the night was still quiet, and deeper in the corner, under the last layer, I found 3 more cases. Same metal, same latches, like someone had dumped an entire safe deposit life into a trash bin and walked away. I carried them home one by one, arms burning, expecting at any other second to hear, "Hey, what you doing?" I didn't. Okay, just a quick pause, guys, to tell you that you definitely can see some shortcuts videos here. I made it with the help of AI, and I hope it doesn't bother you. I just wanted to give you some, not just hearing vibe, but also visualizing the story. But when I lined all 5 briefcases on my kitchen table, something finally hit me harder than the fear. Whoever threw this out didn't do it slowly, they did it fast. And if they did it fast, there was a chance they might come back looking. I didn't open the other 3 cases right away. I did what scared people do when they are trying to look calm. I cleaned up, I wiped the table, set the cases in a straight line, and shoved the kitchen chair under like that would make this normal. Then I checked the PFO, checked the lock, and slid the deadbolt over the soft click. Case number 3 was heavier than the first 2. The latches fought me like they didn't want to let go. When they finally snapped open, I lifted the lid and felt my stomach drop for a completely different reason. Inside weren't watches or jewelry, it was paperwork, neat stacks in plastic sleeves like someone had organized a life and then panicked. A few folders were labeled in block letters: accounts, tax, property, medical. Under those was a slim binder with a company logo I recognized from commercials. And tucked under the binder, wrapped in a dish towel like it was fragile, was a small black pouch with a heart shape inside. I didn't open the pouch yet. I pulled out the top page instead. It was an account statement with a number that didn't look real to me at first. Too many digits, too clean. I turned it over, looking for a name, and found one for the second page. A full name, not mine, not anyone I knew, a person with an address in the same wealthy area. Okay, then I guess we might find a person to whom these things belong. That's when they stopped being some rich people threw out nice stuff and started feeling like I was holding someone's identity in my hands. I took a breath, forced myself to be practical, and grabbed my phone. I photographed the first page, then the name, then the address, just quick evidence, like my brain was already building a defense. Then I slid the folders back exactly how they were and shut case number 3. Case number 4 looked almost fun compared to that. Same metal, same scuffs, but lighter. I opened it and saw rows of plastic slabs and sleeve, trading cards stacked with the kind of care you don't give to anything unless you love it. There were grabbed cards, graded cards, and hard cases with labels on top, and a couple sealed packs that looked untouched. The edges still crisp. A small envelope sat on the side with handwriting, "Do not bend." I'm not a collector, but you don't have to be one to recognize this is serious. My brother watches sports clips on his phone. I've seen him pause on those card shows where people freak out over signatures. Some of these had signatures. A few had authentication stickers. This wasn't Skid's shoebox collection. This was money, slow money, built over years. Yeah, well, definitely that's something really wealthy and worthy. So I really hope she could find a person and she could give it back, because if I were a person who lost it, I would be really mad and disappointed and sad and furious about my collection and, everything that she found. So let's see what happens next. Then I opened case number 5, and that one made the room feel colder. At first, it looked empty except for a folded garment bag. I pulled it out, and it was a suit jacket, still on the hanger, still covered in plastic like it came from a cleaner. Under it was a thin laptop sleeve, also clean, also packed carefully. I slid my fingers inside the sleeve and felt the corners of something flat. It wasn't a laptop. It was a slim metal box about the size of a book, with a combination dial and a tiny red sticker that said "Evidence" in black print. Wow, that's something, smells like criminal. Like a label someone had slapped on in a hurry. Not a police sticker, not official looking, but enough to make my throat close. I didn't spin the dial, I didn't try to force it, I just held it for a second, feeling the weight, and set it back like it could stain the table. That was the moment my body finally caught up to what my brain had been trying to ignore all night. I had brought home something I didn't understand, and there were exactly two ways the story ended. Either I handled it carefully or it handled me. I did three things fast. First, I put the jewelry and watches back into cases number 1 and number 2 and locked them. Second, I slid case number 3, the paperwork, into a contractor trash bag and tied it tight, not because that hid anything, but because it kept pages from falling out and making things worse. Third, I moved everything into my bedroom closet behind winter coats and a box of my daughter's old toys. Then I shut the closet door like that could shut the situation. I was standing there in a dark hallway, then my phone buzzed. A text, unknown number. Just 6 words, no greeting, no punctuation. You took the cases of Hawthorne. My hands went numb. Hawthorne wasn't the rich neighborhood's name, it was the street. And the only way a stranger could know that was if they had been watching that dumpster or watching me. I would, my heart would drop if I received such message. And it just starting to get giving these vibes of some serial killer, show or anything. So I stared at the text until the screen dimmed. Then I did the dumbest thing you could do when you're scared. I texted back. What? I wouldn't text back, seriously. Who's this? No answer, so I went into single mom mode, not panic, process. I woke up my brother first, quiet but firm, and told him to keep my daughter in his room for a bit and not open the door for anyone. I didn't explain everything, just enough to make him take me seriously. Then I took the cases out of the closet, laid them on the bedroom floor, and started checking them like they were a checklist, not a miracle. That evidence sticker on the small combo box kept staring at me. I grabbed a flashlight and looked closer. The sticker edge had lint stuck to it, like it had been slapped on recently. The metal box itself had a tiny serial plate off the bottom. I wrote the numbers down. Then I opened case number 3 again, just long enough to find one page. The address, Hawthorne, same street the text mentioned, so whoever messaged me wasn't guessing. They knew exactly where the cases came from. I didn't call the police first. I think I would do that immediately if I, be in such situation. But I don't know. It's scary, it's frustrating, and I don't know. I called the brokerage office from the statement header, the same one printed on the paperwork. I expected voicemail, instead an actual receptionist picked up. I kept it simple. I found documents with your firm name on them. I need to verify if they're real, if there's an active report tied to them. She transferred me to a compliance guy who sounded tired and careful. When I read him an account number, he went quiet for a bit and asked, "Where did you get those?" My throat went dry, but I didn't lie. I said I found them discarded, and I hadn't tried to cash anything. I told him I also had personal property from the same place, and I received a message from someone who knew the street. He didn't accuse me. He said one sentence that changed everything. That address has documented clean-out dispute. Family, court-ordered removals, things got dumped. So, not a cartel, not a robbery ring, a massive split where someone tried to hurt someone else by throwing out what mattered. I don't know if we should believe that. He told me to bring the documents in, copies only, and to file a non-emergency report about the property and the threatening content, not because you're in trouble, he said, because you need a timestamp. That was the first time in days I felt my lungs work properly. I went to the station that afternoon. I didn't walk in crying. I walked in with a list, the street name, the tags, the serial number from the metal box, and photos of the cases and their contents. The officer didn't roll his eyes, didn't treat me like I was auditioning for TV. He just nodded and said, "You did the right thing by documenting. We'll log it." When I got home, my phone buzzed again. Don't make it harder. Drop them back. No name, no number I could call, just pressure. I didn't answer. 2 days later, the officer called me back. The address on Hawthorne matched an ongoing civil situation, and the owner on paper had already reported items missing but not stolen in the criminal sense. The message sender, unknown, could be someone connected, could be someone trying to scare me into handing valuables over quietly. Here's the part that surprised me. They didn't tell me to dump everything on their desk and walk away empty handed. They gave me a path. The paperwork and anything with names attached would be returned through the proper channel, the rest items clearly placed out for disposal and recovery legally. Could be treated as found robbery depending on how it was documented. It wasn't instant. It was forms and waiting and receipts and a couple of calls that made my stomach knot, but it was clean. The small combo box with the evidence sticker, it turned out to be nothing dramatic, old hard drives and a flash drive in anti-static bags. The officer told me not to open it, locked it, and took it. Just like that, the scariest object in my house stopped being my problem. Well, I guess that's a relief out of her shoulders. The watches and jewelry went through a reputable appraiser with a paper trail. The graded cards went to the dealer who authenticated them in front of me. The tools sold to a contractor who didn't care about the story, just the condition. I kept every receipt, every email, every case number like my life depended on it, because in a way it did. When the dust settled, the final number wasn't movie money. It was real life money. Enough to catch up rent, cover my grandfather's therapy, replace my brother's broken laptop for school, and still put a chunk in savings so I wasn't living one emergency away from collapse. The best purchase I made wasn't even big. I paid 3 months ahead on the electric bill. I tapped the confirmation to the fridge like proof that would be breathed. The text stopped after the report went in, just silence, the kind that feels like someone turned their eyes away. A week later, my daughter asked why I'd been smiling with my whole face again. I didn't tell her about Hawthorne. I told her we were okay. I told her grandpa's medicine was handled. I told her yes to the field trip, free without doing the math in my head. And that night, when the apartment finally went quiet, I stood in the kitchen and realized something small but enormous. For the first time in a long time, my fear wasn't louder than my plans. That's it. No lesson I'm trying to preach, just what happened and what I had to do to keep it from turning into something ugly. Thanks for reading it like a real letter. That's the end. Well, very, scary in some parts of the story, and I'm glad it ended up good because those texts, sounds really threatening and you never know what could happen after. Was there criminals or not? But thank God it were not. It's just a civil situation at some family. So if you guys like this story and you have something to share with us, please leave a comment. And if you do like video, please follow, subscribe, and share with your friends and family. Thank you. Goodbye.